Right, hey guys, and welcome. So, I actually want to talk about something that's quite controversial here. And I'm not sure how I really feel about this, considering I just recreated my IMDb account recently to have my own, watch list and my own films sorted out. It's been a really long time, as I said. I had an old account, and I didn't really maintain it too well. It's really dirty, too many films all over the place. And, also I've matured over the years to rate films a little bit more critically, I would say. And so I did recreate an account and I got a whole new list of films that I've been watching and trying to keep up with. But all of a sudden, the thing that surprised me is that I got to know that Amazon has obtained IMDb, and it was quite recent, just like middle of the year, May or June or something. And so there is this there's actually evidence that they've actually been buying reviews, and you can really tell from the disparity of the reviews in, the Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, which I have not watched, by the way. I've not, resubscribed to Amazon Prime for whatever reason, because I don't see any other shows that's really enticing me, that makes me want to subscribe to Amazon. Like the only reason I did before is for the Boys, yeah, because I always like to watch The Boys, and so that was the one thing. I think you can watch that in a binge format, but as for this one, you really have to wait for the weekly release. And I don't think I want to be subscribed that long, so I'll probably just get a single month subscription once the entire thing is out, just to understand what on earth is going on, because the reviews here just don't seem to make like sense, other than the fact that there are clearly a lot of paid reviews that's rating 10 out of 10s, because you have 22% of people rating it a 1, right? There can't be this much difference when it comes to rating a film. Like, sure, you have if you have like some people expecting a film like a series or whatever to be a 10, you could have people that don't like it rating it a 7, 6, even a 5 or a 4. But to put it at a 1, it almost seems like they're doing it on purpose just to pull down the reviews because of how ridiculous the 10-point reviews are. And I kind of understand, the fear that audiences may have, which is big corporations such as Amazon taking over, movie rating, um, what do you call this, websites or forums or platforms, and that may eschew the opinion of viewers who basically people who don't think for themselves, right? They go and watch a lot of films, especially a lot of young Marvel fans who don't really know what Marvel and the comics and the stories of superheroes and the motivations and all that is about. Which is why I like to pull their legs, is because growing up as a huge comic fan, be it Marvel or DC or whatever, you know that the important thing behind all of those characters is the story that's being told. And you get to see yourself reflected, within that story, and that's the importance of it. But people miss the point when it becomes all about ratings, just to show that because you like it, you have to rate it better and better. But that's not the point, right? A film can be bad and you can still like it. And a good example of that is, I think that what kind of a decent one that I could put. I think the first Wolverine, um, the Origins, I think is a decent film. A lot of people didn't really like it, and sure, it didn't stand out compared to the rest of the X-Men. But I think for a solo Wolverine film, it was pretty good, and it really told the origin story of Wolverine a lot better. And in the comics, Wolverine's never really the front person in the X-Men. It's always been Scott Summers, Cyclops. So I never really was the fan of Bryan Singer's X-Men because it put Wolverine in the limelight when he's not that in the comics. But the origin story was really, really nice. So it's not a good film, but I liked it, right? That's a fair enough opinion. But looking at how different these opinions are, it really is shocking as to what's really happening behind the scenes with these major corporations. Like we know Disney does this all the time, right? Disney always pays people to go to their opening shows to give them high ratings. And if you have a negative review, you're going to be bombarded by millions of fans who really don't think for themselves. That's basically it, right? So here's a good example of a few recent ones that I actually did watch, and you can see how different the ratings are. The Mandalorian, brilliant show. Sure, I gave it a 6. Why did I give it a 6? Because it sort of rode on the idea of what Star Wars was and told the story of a Mandalorian, someone who me in particular is not too excited about. Regardless, it is a really good story, but it's really carried by Pedro Pascal, and the other side characters I feel don't have the same strength or charisma or capability to carry the show as well as he did. Even the character of Grogu is just there to sell Baby Yoda as a doll and to make money out of merchandise and not really have a very unique character to tell. Because Pedro Pascal really shows you the feeling, this fatherly emotion that he gives take care of Grogu, but Grogu doesn't really show that emotionally. He's not able to carry it because it's just this puppet doll kind of thing, right? But it all really comes to a very good climax when Luke Skywalker shows up towards the end of what season two, I think, to save all of them basically, right? And that shows you how awesome the Jedi are compared to the regular people. And so it was great that they built it all up for that one final fan service episode, but you see how that one episode becomes so important, and it's not because the rest of the season is boring, but it's because that single moment is where you can see the awesomeness of the Jedi, right? And that awesomeness could have been carried out throughout the series because that's what Star Wars is about. The entire Star Wars, like the main storyline, right, the canon storyline, is about the Jedi, right? It's about not believing in the Jedi and the Jedi showing up to show everyone that they're really real and the Jedi dominating. Like if you watch A New Hope, people don't believe in the Jedi until what 2 hours in, and then everyone believes about the Jedi because they actually see what the Jedi really are. And so in episode 5, 6, and the rest of it, the Jedi are there throughout. They are like the core of the story, right? Darth Vader is a Jedi who became a Sith. That's what it's all about. And all of a sudden, taking that very important core element out of Star Wars, you try to show you try to give a show that is with the rest of its elements. I still think it's a very good effort, which is why I rate The Mandalorian above a 5. But I don't think it's something that I'll be watching over the original Star Wars series to say that, oh, this is really good. Like this fits into the main Star Wars story and what's not. It really doesn't. It just feels like they're milking the concept and the fan base that Star Wars already has to give you like a story of a side character that is just not as interesting. And that's what I felt it was. Regardless, it's a good show, right? You can see how a lot of people like this. Look at this. This is Obi-Wan. If my Opera manages to load it. Okay, there we go. So Obi-Wan, I rated it a 2. I absolutely hated Obi-Wan because Obi-Wan basically had one good episode, which is like parts of Darth Vader's fight scenes, parts of Obi-Wan's discussion with Leia. In certain scenes, I felt that little girl did a good job. Obi-Wan building a character with her and whatsoever. They had that's kind of a connection in certain moments. So if you like merge all of those minutes together, you get like one solid episode. The rest of it is just a filler, a complete filler of a series. And so I'm just giving it a 2 because I like to see Ewan McGregor and what do you call this? Reprise his role as Obi-Wan Kenobi, and that's pretty much it. Everyone else, I didn't care about them, honestly. They didn't tell good enough stories for the rest of the characters. And we liked Obi-Wan because of what he was in the original Star Wars, not because of the character he was in this series. In this series, he sort of switches off from the Force, learns to reuse the Force, all of a sudden can use the Force in about a few episodes. Doesn't really have to do a retraining or any sort of thing like that. It's just like, oh, I've unlocked the Force and I've begun to use it and I can now fight Vader, and all of a sudden he defeats Darth Vader, who has literally been at the peak of his power for like a few years now. When Obi-Wan has been hiding for a few years. So how he was able to beat Vader all of a sudden just doesn't make sense. Because in the original battle, between Anakin and Obi-Wan, we clearly saw that in episode 3, right? Like Anakin did have a chance of beating Obi-Wan, but Obi-Wan was at his prime, which is the only reason that Anakin was defeated. But now being rebuilt as Darth Vader, he should be considered in his prime, and Obi-Wan in a declining sense of his strengths and what's or not. But he really didn't take too much effort in beating Darth Vader. It wasn't even close. Like he clearly dominated Darth Vader with just Force itself. And yeah, all these unillogical scenes, Star Wars canon, whatever, breaking stuff. So I didn't like it, but you can see the range of people rated it above a 5, while there were some strong percentages of 1. But yeah, this is another decent rating where the fans are sitting between 10 to 6, right? They're in a certain quarter. Now let's look at House of the Dragon. Look how all the fans are inclined to rate it really, really high. I really want to rate the show high as well, but I'm waiting for it to end before I decide because I want to keep watching this show, and so I don't want to rate it too early. So you can see how a lot of fans are in the higher upper echelon, I would say, of this thing. And then there's a small 5%ers who really don't like this. And so here comes She-Hulk, where you can clearly see um, a good lesson on how to rate a bad show. So I have not watched this beyond wait, what was the episode 1? Yeah, only I didn't watch this beyond 1, but I think I watched like clips of like in between episodes just because of how ridiculous they were. I saw the twerking clip, I saw like a few other hilarious clips and a few other YouTubers talking about it, and I'm so worried about watching it, just thinking I might choke myself to death because of how horrifying the reviews are. But you can clearly see how some people are able to rate this a 10, right? And so these are clearly the paid reviews, and these are the most of the original reviews of people actually hating on the show for what it really is. Because this is 40,000 people in compared to the 16,000 that rated at 10. And so 10,000 votes can easily be bought, right? But yeah, the rest of it is really, really difficult because you can only have so many bots. And if you do go through the reviews, you will see a good number of bots. So let's say you look at the only thing is, unfortunately, you can't see the rating by demographic by the rating itself, right? That's one thing you can't really do. Hmm. Yeah. But under 18s really should not be watching a show like this. Under 18s is like this is a bad influence for under 18s. Yeah. But consider the difference in demographics as to those who are actually rating the show. We don't know how many are watching, right? But based on those who are rating the show, it shows that more men definitely watch the show. That's what you can see based on the ratings. But in reality, could be more women watching. We can't really be too sure about that. So that's She-Hulk. Let's move on to the next one. All right, here's the Woman King. So I heard a lot of funny stuff about this one. This one's really hilarious because apparently it's based on the story of a slave trader, someone who ruled over slaves, and slavery was like their kingdom. And so, them glorifying slavery in this film seems to be the agenda that people are against. So yeah, it's kind of hilarious how they want to show some kind of a empowering story about women being a king, I guess. So that's why they call it the Woman King. But turns out it's about a slave trader, and so people hate the film. Yeah, great choice, guys. Great decision making by whoever pitched this crap. I haven't watched it. I don't think I ever will, knowing what the premise is about. But if there is an interesting scene about it, maybe I'll try to look it up and see if there's anything intelligent or something new to watch that is in this that's not already recycled garbage from any other movie. If you ask me, if you guys are looking for those of you who do pitches for films, if at all you come across whatever I'm talking about, because I don't think there's a chance for that ever to happen. But if you are coming up with the idea that you want to produce a story about a woman who was a queen, not a king, because that wouldn't make them a woman grammatically, right? Just just language wise, it would be a failure to call a woman a king. My mother was an English teacher, and she would be very upset if she found out that you call a woman a king. So yeah, if you want to make a story about a queen, you could do it about all the queens of England. I'm pretty sure that's a totally understandable establishment. And you could also refer to the queens that were sort of ruling the Chinese Empire in China. I'm pretty sure there were a few queens who had a lot of power. Like I'm sure a lot of them, like in China, it's not a either queen or king rule. It's usually the king rules and the queen has the option to take over certain duties. And some queens have taken up all the way up to military decision making. So there are plenty of stories there to look at. And also in India, there's also a lot of women who have been in power as queens and have made huge decisions. And there's also a lot of lore, even from the Mahabharata and a lot of other stories, I'm sure, where the women have been in positions of queen, being a queen and in positions of power, even though they may not be a queen, right, as generals and what's not. There are a lot of stories of that. So maybe instead of looking at things in the West, that don't really make a lot of sense, you could also look to the East and find a lot of stories that put women in positions of power, that perhaps have better stories to tell rather than being queens of slavery. And yes, slavery was a general thing in history. Like among all kingdoms, everyone had slaves and concubines and whatever, right? Like in Game of Thrones, they basically have a slave army of eunuchs, and that's reality. People did do that, back in really dark times. But you know, they aren't glorified as characters, right? Like the whole point of view, think about it, right? Daenerys basically hired a slave army of eunuchs. So technically, Daenerys, breaker of chains, is still a slave queen, right? Right, guys? Like, am I getting this wrong? Daenerys is a slave queen who ruled over a slave army of eunuchs who had Grey Worm die for her. But despite that, I think she has a better story to tell than the Woman King. I mean, at least that's what I believe, because I have not watched it, so once again, I can't judge it wholeheartedly. Maybe the Woman King does have a more interesting story, but one thing I can defend, even without watching, is understanding that the Woman King did not tell the actual story, and I believe that there was some kind of change to the script that went against reality, because the Woman King is based on the story of slavery in Africa, and I think they didn't tell the actual story and they diverted too much from the actual story. Whereas Game of Thrones is purely fictional and it's based on books, and you can play around with the fictional story, but playing around with a story that's based on history, I think you shouldn't divert too much from it. Like Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, right? That's what you talk about when you want to go talk about turning reality into fiction. So yeah, that was one hell of a story. Whoever the hell was, whatever they were on when making Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, I think these people were on the same thing when they made the Woman King. So I can't speak too much on behalf of the hatred of being a slave queen or king, glorifying them or whatever. I'm not sure whether it glorifies them so much as to whether it just tells a story about a queen that was in charge of a bunch of slaves, because that's what Game of Thrones was as well. So neither of them are good people in any way, right? They're both equally evil in some very primeval sort of fashion. But regardless, it's Queen. Okay, it's the Queen, and the Queen is about a slave lord. That's basically what it is. So yeah, that's this one. Let's go to the next one. The next one is the Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. Which yeah, I mean, I really don't see a reason to get the subscription to watch this show yet. But looking at the disparity between the reviews, knowing that Amazon is probably paying people to give the tens, is really, really scary. And yeah, looking at Andor, I'm actually kind of excited to want to watch it. So I'll probably be hopping into Andor pretty soon, because I think it deserves to be watched considering the reviews that it's getting so far. It doesn't seem to be too bad. So let me just make sure I keep it on a watch list here. Yeah, there we go. It is in my watch list, so that's great for me. And I'm not sure why they're showing the trailer of Darth Vader at the beginning, which was, I believe, the shot from him at the end of Rogue One. So I'm not sure why he's there in the trailer, but yeah, Disney, they like to ride on what do you call this, nostalgia, because they basically have no original stories left to tell. So yeah, that could probably be just it. So anyway, let's look at the Rings of Power's reviews to understand whether it really is deserving in some way. Right, so let's just scroll down a little bit into the reviews given here. Wait, you know what? That's actually the wrong that's actually the wrong way to approach looking at reviews. It's the storyline. Did you know user reviews? Okay, there we go. Not bad is okay. Let's see. Let me sort this to straight 10 star. Okay, and let me sort this by the review date because we want to get the latest reviews based on the people who have watched the most number of episodes. Just watched the fifth episode, and this series is top. Screenwriter did amazing work on building tension of the watchers, unfolds so nicely. Music in the background per scene creates different feelings and images. I look forward for the next episode. I hope they will continue the series. Okay, this is actually a very nice review. But only one person out of seven found this helpful. Okay. I am a high Lord of the Rings fan. I am a high Lord of the Rings fan. So you are high. Okay. I suggest a binge watch for this. I will take that as the ultimate decision. Epic drama is set thousands of years before the events on Lord of the Rings. It takes viewers back to an era which great powers were forged. Why does this feel like a template? Is this a template? Is this a template review? You know what? We can find this out if this is template review, right? That's thousands of years. Let's just take like two sentences. Let's just take like these two sentences, right? And let's just look it up. This feels so template. No way, right? The epic drama is set thousands of years before the events of J.R.R. Tolkien. The epic drama is set thousands of years before the events of J.R.R. Tolkien. This is a total template review. Okay, buddy. Are you a bot? JPR78252. Hi, bot. Gaining momentum characters so strong, one could argue that more should be happening, but I disagree. The whole work benefits be from this steady pace and the whole series aged very well. Uh, the Silmarillion and the Fall of Gondolin are spectacular future options. Okay. My mind is blown. It doesn't exactly follow the books to the letter, but it follows the lore. What lore? Okay, never mind. I'll look into it. This is the best on-screen adaptation of The Lord of the Rings I've ever seen. The best on-screen adaptation. Okay, that's big words, dude. The elves are exactly what I imagined them to be at the time in history. The Black Elves? Is that what he's talking about? I'm not sure. Reviewing after 5 episodes. Bet they're still watching a show like this was born from an epic tale, expecting to be all knowing after a few episodes is unrealistic. So this is 5 episodes, which is like 5 hours, which is basically the first 1.5 Lord of the Rings films, right? I wonder if as many things have happened. Top notch. Interpretation of Tolkien's work. They took some liberties in some detail, as did the trilogy. Tend to have short-term memory. Advised to disregard the IMDb rating altogether and just watch it with an open mind. So disregard the rating? Isn't the rating pretty good? The rating is like I don't know, 6 out of 10 or something? Sure, I'll disregard it if you want me to. Can't imagine how serious this is. Fabulous series needs some time. After that, it will be awesome, like Lord of the Rings. If you see Lord of the Rings first, I was bored some parts. Okay. Um, but when I watched episode 3 and 4, it's awesome. It's really how. Okay, fine, sure, whatever. Slow, just like the books. Right. I'm not sure how you read your books, but sure. This is crazy good. Are these people all really bots? Like their names don't even make sense. Unless they are actually people's names. I'm so sorry if I offend you. But yeah, it just seems really weird that, all your names have some weird numbers behind them at the same time. Leave your own garbage at the door. If you're willing to leave your own garbage at the door, you'll probably love this. No one leaves their garbage at the door. You throw the garbage into the trash can, the garbage bin. But sure, fine. The new review bombing culture. Review bombing culture. How about pay to review culture? Let's talk about that, shall we? Give it time. Okay, I'll give it time. Relieved and happy. Oh really? As a fan of the Incredible books, I was worried the series would lose some of the beauty and essence. I'm relieved and glad that it has not and has been done with thought and is a tribute to their uniquely magic world. Some of these reviews seem quite genuine. I'm not really sure who to believe in anymore. Hmm. Okay, 0 out of 5 found this helpful. 0 out of 6. Like no one finds this helpful. These are just reviews done for the sake of reviews, I see. Huh. Hmm. My daughter 12 and myself 45 eagerly look forward to watch each episode. This guy likes his brackets and his numbers. Pretty cool. Okay. Well, fair enough. I think there could be some genuine reviews among these. So I'm really not sure how it works. But I also believe, looking at the names here with all these numbers in between, that a lot of these could be absolute bots. Like Freak78185 could be a bot. So Amazon gets someone to write this and post it via the bot's name. That could be possible. I think the best way to find out, right, is to click one of these bots. Okay, so this is a bot, right? Let's see what they've reviewed. The bot has reviewed three shows: Resident Alien and Ratchet. Interesting. Let's see another one of the bot's reviews, right? Okay, this looks very bot. This looks pretty bot. Where's the one with a lot of numbers? Okay, this one looks very bot. I want something with more numbers. This one. This one looks pretty bot. Okay, let's see. This one's reviewed. This one's got a lot of lists, dude. This one's like a actual reviewer. Holy crap. The Woman King gets a 10. Whoa. Okay, okay. Rhino Bird, Stranger Things, Tron. This one also looks pretty genuine. Like this might be an actual person, right? Oop, over scroll there, sorry. Yeah, how about this one? Albera something something. This one also looks like a genuine reviewer. Yeah, okay, pretty cool. Nakovsky 733 reviewed two shows. Member for 5 years, but has reviewed just two shows. Okay, has also reviewed The Sandman. Hmm, I'm not sure. Like, these could be genuine reviews. By the looks of it, I think most of them are, which really is confusing me. But I guess the only way I could really judge this show is to watch it for myself, and so I will have to get back to this once I get my ability to review a show. But here's a great show that I could really recommend to you guys in case you guys missed it, have not watched it. Arcane. Arcane is genuinely a really good show. And I think that if you have not watched it, I highly recommend you do. I personally gave this show a 9 out of 10. It is an absolutely unbelievably very well animated show with great characters, compelling storytelling, characters that have actual character development, a beautiful world, lore building, cinematography, the tension, the music. It's just such a perfect show. I think that none of these shows that I have in my list with me can be used to sort of compare to Arcane. Beside, of course, I think House of the Dragon and Mandalorian. I think these two shows can totally stand by themselves, their own 2 feet, can carry these shows. The only reason I rated the downvote to the Mandalorian, as I said before, is it's not really the Star Wars thing that I wanted. But it's the Star Wars thing that I got, and I do appreciate it. I think it's a good show. A 6 out of 10 is a good rating by my standards. But I don't think it's as good as what Star Wars is. Episode 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. Are you kidding me? This doesn't stand anywhere near those, right? Yeah, Arcane is totally its own thing, and it does it so well. So yeah, anyway, it is what it is. I will watch The Woman King soon, so let me just keep that in tab. And I will be probably, I'm not sure whether I should ever continue She-Hulk. Like, it's just so, it's like exciting me to watch a bad show just because I want to be part of the hype that rants over it. But then again, I think I should just keep myself away from toxicity and not watch it at all. So yeah, time to add this to the watch list and see what the hype is all about. A historic epic inspired by true events that took place in the kingdom of Dahomey, one of the most powerful states of Africa in the 18th and 19th century. The kingdom of Dahomey, okay. West African kingdom located present existed approximately 1600 until 1904. That's a lot of years. That's like 300 years uh, of existence. That's quite long, dude. Let's see. Hmm. Okay, important regional power, domestic economy, and slave labor, significant international trade and diplomatic relations with Europeans. Doesn't sound evil inherently, but then again, we probably have to watch it to understand it, right? Because as I said, all kingdoms do have some form of slavery, one way or another. And like even if you want to take a show about um a British Empire today, considering they were built upon slavery and taxation and rape and all of those things, it's really difficult to take a story as is, right? You do have to have some twists and some kind of turns. Like even Braveheart, which is, I think if you think about it, it shows you the brutality of the British invaders who went into Scotland, took over their kingdom, and told them they have to, kneel down to their king, and ultimately, ends up in the demise of very important characters in Scottish history. It is still roughly based on the true story, right? It can't be all in. And at the same time, they were also slaves. A lot of them were slaves. So yeah, I think it's hard to judge it until I really watch it. So let me just get back to you on this one. So that's it for me for this. I think I just want to touch upon how, askew some of these reviews are and how I really cannot trust The Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power just because Amazon now controls IMDb. And I think for all of these Amazon shows, I really have to be careful in deciding if the ratings are even true anymore. Yeah, so I'm not sure if I made a mistake having my account recreated on IMDb, considering how polluted this website's going to be after this. But as long as my ratings are not going to be changed, I think I'm quite happy with what I've done. And so, yeah, I haven't really done an episode with you guys on my rating of like my top 100 shows. I probably should do that next. So yeah, I'll be back with you guys very, very soon. Take care.